Naming molecules can get tricky when the molecules start to look very complicated and very large. You have to remember that you have a set of rules that you must follow, and you must do every one in order to get the name correctly. You can see here that I have got a list of 4 items. The first one, we must identify the parent chain. In order to do that, we just go ahead and look and count. Okay, I've identified the parent chain as being 9 carbons long in this molecule, and it is this. Don't get confused by substituents, and don't get confused by thinking that the parent chain will always be left to right. The molecule is allowed to rotate freely and is allowed to do what it wants in solution. It is a alkane, and it does not have any restrictions on how it rotates, and so it will, or it can be drawn in many different ways. So because of this, always count every possible path to make sure you get the right number of carbons as your longest chain. This chain again is 9 carbons long, and so we're going to go ahead and say this is a nonane parent chain. Nonane is how you would identify, or how you would name a 9 carbon chain that is an alkane. If you need further identification on what number matches up with which name, I've given a table in the notes. Please feel free to look through that, and that will explain how I came to nonane for the 9 carbon chain. After this, we have to identify how long this carbon chain is. So to do that, we are going to, or we have to number the carbon chain, and we have to give the substituents the lowest possible number. Okay, and so we want to, looking at this, probably start on the right. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If we would have went from left to right, our methyl groups would have been a higher number than 4, and that wouldn't have given us the lowest possible number for our substituents. So if we go ahead and identify what types of substituents we have, we can see at position 4 there's 2 that are attached. They're both methyl groups, and so you would say it's 4, 4, because you got to number the location twice since there's 2 groups attached there. And then they're both methyl groups, and so we have to say that there's 2 of them, and in order to do that, you have to put a prefix in front of methyl, and in this case, we're going to put di to identify that there's 2 methyl. At the last location where there is a substituent, which is 5, we have an interesting looking substituent there. You will see that if I circle it and you count how many carbons there are, there's 4 carbons in this substituent. So it is a butyl group. But it is not a typical butyl group. It is in a unique shape. And in this shape, we call it sec-butyl. S-E-C. This is one of the common substituents I need you guys to know. And I've gone over these in the notes. And so if you need to go ahead and look at the notes to clarify which substituents are which, please do so. After this, we will have to go ahead and put the name together. So we have to put the substituents based on their first letter of their name. And to do that, we have to know specific rules. In the sec-butyl, since it is a hyphenated name, we have to go ahead and start with the B. We don't start with the S. So anytime it's a hyphenated name, start with the B. And there's only 2 cases where there's hyphenated names for this class. And so that'll be both butyl. So it'll be both cases, start with B. And for the dimethyl, we do not go with the prefixes. So di, tri, and tetra are not going to be what we focus on for alphabetizing. We are going to fall back on the name of the substituent being methyl. So here we're trying to figure out, does butyl come first or does the methyl come first? And all we have to do is know that B is before M in the alphabet. And so to name this, we're going to name it 5-sec-butyl first. And then the next substituent that comes is 4,4-dimethyl. And then always last is the parent name, and that will be nonane. So we've now named this molecule. If you follow the procedures and you do everything in order every time, the naming will start to become easier. So make sure you always keep this list of what you're supposed to do handy if you're not doing well with it, and make sure to study and memorize those common substituents that I have given you in the notes.